Hello and welcome to episode 337 of the Hooniverse Podcast. I'm your host, Jeff Glucker. Joining me is my buddy, Ron Baugh. What's up, Ron?
What's happening? How are you?
Good. How's your computer and your phone?
It's an absolute mess, all of it. I'm recording on my phone as opposed to my computer as we normally do because this is the third week in a row of just outrageous and super frustrating technical difficulties. So I don't know what's going on, but we're here. And if we freeze, I'm just throwing everything out the window. Computer, phone, everything.
I guarantee you recording on your phone and me on the mic, people are going to be like, oh, now their levels are finally even, just when we're like backing down technology, but whatever. That's all what happens. Let's dive into some stuff.
Get it.
I didn't send you an outline because I wrote it 5 minutes before we started. So first things first, what the hell happened to the Hooniporsche?
Are we not referring to it as the Hoonipig?
I just don't like the Hoonipig. I just don't like
Hoonipig. That's what everybody says. Internally, anyway.
They don't
they don't give a shit. That's what it's always been. As long as I've been hearing about it. The actual unveiling was the first time I ever heard Hoonipigasus, and I was like, oh, just like everybody else. We were just like, it's not silky smooth, like rolling off the tongue.
I'm going to call it the Hoonigan Pikes Peak Porsche.
Well,
so what happened?
I mean, I'm no mechanic. I'm not, Derek Dauncey. I'm not. I'm also not Ken, and I don't work for Hoonigan Racing Division, but I know the basics. The car dropped a valve during practice and created some really, I guess, unfixable damage. And Ken was basically out of the race before qualifying. So they didn't pack it up and head home. They stuck around for the Fan Fest and all the cool stuff leading up to the race. And it sounds like, I don't know, a lot of people's stress levels dropped dramatically once the car was officially out of the race, and they were kind of able to enjoy themselves and get sleep. So, there's not necessarily a silver lining to this, except that they get to do it again next year, and hopefully Mobile One, BBI, Rotoform, all the partners are satisfied, and Ken kicks ass. So. It sucks that it wasn't there for the 100th running, and all the pomp and circumstance surrounding that. But, nobody got hurt. Nobody died. So
I think it had 2 engine failures, right? Like one was valves and then the next one was the block.
That may be true. I honestly don't know. The text that I got from Mr. Sam Dobbins, who is now Ken's marketing director.
Okay.
I hope it's okay to say that.
I can blank it if it's not because this one runs next week.
I'll text him. I'm sure it'll be fine by next week. But anyhow, that was the text that I got, and it was super disappointing for a lot of people, obviously. But like I said, nobody got hurt. It was just unfortunate. Yeah,
that's a bummer. The car is cool. It would have been really cool to see what it could do. It wouldn't have broken any records based on the conditions on the mountain. Because I don't know how much you watched of the race. I didn't watch it live, but I watched some of it, and the top half of that mountain was insane.
Just ice and snow, right?
Anybody doing the open wheel car stuff was just bananas. But the weather at the top was some of the worst it's been in years, I think, up there. But the people who did run and compete and no, there was nothing catastrophic that happened, which is always good to hear. The best was the dude who rolled the buggy. That's the coolest. That's one of the coolest things I've ever seen. I don't know if he even
took his foot off the gas. He was like back in it and on track or on the road, like within 2 seconds, like no hesitation whatsoever. That was so gangster.
Though it's like indicative of that type of driver, like a King of Hammer driver. Like everybody else at Pikes Peak was probably like, what? And everybody else from like the desert world was like, hell yeah, that's, it's the coolest shit ever. If you haven't seen that video or just go find it. I think the guy's name is Levi Shirley, if I'm not mistaken. Yeah, like you said, Ultra 4 buggy type truck. rolled it in a corner, and as soon as it landed on four wheels, he was back up the hill.
It was like he planned it. Like it was just like it was so smooth.
Yeah. It was super awesome. Now, speaking of rotiform stuff.
Hold on really quick. We got to recognize our buddy Johnny Lieberman. Johnny made it to the top.
Oh, yeah, sure.
Johnny did not flip. Johnny did not go off the mountain. He didn't set any records, but, I mean, conditions were what they were, but super proud of him and happy for him to have been able to celebrate that with his family. His wife and his son were there at the finish line, I think.
And they were at the start line. They waved the green flag.
Oh, got it. My bad.
I think they made it. So they waved the green flag for him, and then they probably took the train up once he was at the top. Because there's a train.
Yeah, I saw him at the finish line, but I thought they were there waiting for him. I didn't realize they waved him off. That's sick.
Like his boy was waving the green flag, which is super cool. And yes, major props to Johnny for doing it, especially in those conditions. Even in like normal conditions, it's a daunting thing. And Johnny has tons of experience driving a car, but he's not a race car driver. So he put in the training. He worked with the right people like Jeff Swart, and I forget the name of his trainer on the sim, but people who know what they're doing. So he did it right. And whoever designed his helmet, that helmet's so dope. I love the design of the helmet.
Although I thought there was a missed opportunity. I thought they could have turned the Zuckerman head into a 3D print, a wrap of his helmet. And just added Johnny's beard to it, and that would have just irritated the shit out of both of them. That would have just been the perfect irony.
Yes, almost like when Farrah did like the Homer Simpson helmet, and there's that. Yeah. Back to speaking about rotiforms. Mike Burrows from Stanceworks, he finally has his rotiforms, and they look dope
on his K-swapped Ferrari 328 or 308. I can't remember.
308. This is what the car looks like. I don't know if you can see it on your screen, but I'm sharing it right now. Let me see.
Cleaning my glasses.
Yeah, you can see it there. So this is a good shot that Mike posted to Instagram on the wheels, and I think those wheels are sick. They look really good, especially the offset on the rear. They just add a lot of character to the car, and I know he's been waiting for these for a while, and I think it sounds like he's pretty stoked just to have the car on the ground. It has a ways to go, obviously, but it's come a long way, and it's getting real close for him to do some cool stuff with it.
I got to check in on the channel and see what's left. It's been probably a couple months since I checked in on that.
Because you're not involved in that project.
No. Like the Forge stuff, like that, like the custom and one-off stuff, I don't really have any involvement in. Sometimes we take that as inspiration for the cast line, but I do design development for all the cast stuff in particular, unless I have something that just I think is amazing that we want to make in like 3-piece or Forge monoblock.
Speaking of wheels, I just thought of something. So I found on Cars and Bids, I think it was, there's an Econoline van, like a 90s era Econoline with the Airstream treatment, like period Airstream treatment. So it's a really cool camper van, and it has some ugly wheels on it. And I was like, this thing's so sick. All you got to do is change the wheels. And I was like, if I threw some like 1552 analogs on it. But then I was like, what about load ratings for wheels? So the load rating on those wheels, it says they're 2,500. Is that at each corner that wheel is rated for 2,500 pounds?
Yeah. And that, you don't want your GVWR, whatever, to gross vehicle weight rating. Yeah. So you don't want that to exceed your wheels load rating. So, it's not 2,500. Like a 2,500 pound wheel is really suitable for like a 6,000 pound truck. Like, because typically a truck like that, an HD truck, has, heavy payload capacity, obviously towing capacity, and all of that. Your wheels have to be load rated to carry all of that, even though the trailer does support the weight. But you want your wheels to not just barely cover the GVWR of your vehicle.
Right. because I posted on Twitter, and then Lindbergh, who's a great off-road enthusiast and photographer, has a Montero. They also have a Troopy, which looks good, because we were going back and forth talking about wheels. He's like, TEs. I'm like, yeah, that's like cheating, but like I don't think they'd work on this truck. And I photoshopped the 1552s, the analogs, and another wheel. I was like, but what? But then I was like, what's the weight though of this thing? And he Googled it and said it was like 9,400 pounds, and the weight rating of the wheels is 10,000 pounds. So like, I mean, that's not safe.
It's not. Like there are wheels that are made for those particular like high load applications. Like in our Black Rhino line, in Fuel, even KMC, there's HD wheels that are really intended for 8 lug and like high load capacity vehicles. So they'll have upwards of that. But I mean, 2,500 is on the higher end for a like standard passenger car or road vehicle wheel. It's like that would be sufficient on like a Hummer. Most HD trucks, but there are HD like wheels that far exceed that load capacity.
Right. Okay. Sorry, that just popped in my head.
Typically, you want to do like on something like that. You want to do like a forged wheel to kind of typically double that load capacity.
Well, I was thinking the smarter thing would probably do whatever, like some like steel RV wheels, like that fit. Now, staying in the off-road space, he used to write for Jalopnik, I believe, but now he's at Road and Track. Mac Hogan, who's a friend of Hooniverse, he posted something on Twitter where he's like, "Hey, asking for a friend. If you had to," he's like, "but not really. I'm asking for me." He has a Lexus LX470, and the ACH failed, and he needs to sell it. And ACH is the AHC, auto height control. So in the second gen and forward, they fit Land Cruisers and LXs with auto height control. So when you go off road, you can raise it up. When you're driving, you lower it down.
Or hydraulic?
And it's hydraulic.
Say that with the utmost confidence.
I'm like 90% sure it's hydraulic. I just want to confirm that. HC suspension fluid. It's hydraulic. It's hydraulic. So he had this truck. Let me pull it up here because I have it open in a tab. So he posted, he's like, "How much, should I expect for this?" And I was like, "Oh, well, send me info on it, and I'll write a post on Hooniverse because I think that's actually kind of fascinating." So I wrote, "How much would you pay for this?" And it's otherwise like a really clean truck. The paint's cool, and everybody wants one of these. It just is. It's got the V8. Yep. It looks nice. This one has 196,000 miles, which on a Toyota Lexus of this vintage is nothing.
You got five times that mileage built in.
Right. So it's just a super, super clean truck. Some surface rust on the underside, not a big deal. And then it's possible to delete that AHC, but right now the AHC doesn't work. I think these photos are before he had the issues with it, so the rear would be sagging.
That was going to be my question. Does the suspension function normally like a truck that wasn't equipped with AHC, or is it sagging like a Mercedes when ABC fails? Like,
I think it sags. So what you can do though is you can raise it by like pushing fluid through and then like sealing something off to be able to drive it and then not use it. So in my mind, that it was a potential opportunity for a steal of a vehicle where you could get it drivable easily and then get it home and then figure out, all right, do I want to pay to have this fixed, or do I want to just have it deleted? And either option is a good option because the rest of the truck seemed very solid. And like that day, he said he had 3 offers and someone came and took it away. And I won't say what he sold it for because I asked him privately. And I should have jumped on it because we could have flipped that thing and made money just by fixing that. Like, it's like you throw that on Bring a Trailer or Cars and Bids or Craigslist or whatever. Those are in demand.
But what does it cost to repair that?
I don't know. I probably would have went the delete route and put some like nice like Old Man Emu or some other equivalent well-known suspension brand back there and be like, ACH is deleted, so you don't have to worry about it, and just sell it like that.
Well, that's why the reason why I asked. I mean, was he just over it, didn't have time, just wasn't using it? Like,
I think that's what it was. Yeah. I think it was like, I don't have time for this. I don't want to deal with this sort of thing.
Totally understand, my dude.
Yeah. Yeah, there's that aspect of it. But in my head, I was like, what if, I know you don't want to deal with this, but what if you just took a Jag in trade? And yeah, I mean, based on what he sold it for, he might have. I'll just leave it at that. And then now, speaking of the camping stuff, speaking of the Jag stuff, I don't know where you are right now, but it gets to the point in the year
in Long Beach.
It gets to the point in the year though, where when I haven't done like a camping trip or a road trip in a while, I start to get the itch.
How long has it been? You just did a rally. You just did how long was that?
That was work.
Okay.
That was work though, so that's different. That was 3 days. It was great. I had a great time, and the video is up if you guys haven't seen it. Overlanding in the Ozarks is live on the YouTube channel. I had a wonderful time. Black Elk Media shot a lot of the B-roll. They did a hell of a job, and they let me use a bunch of it, which is kind of a saving grace for me. But I want to take my Montero camping, or I want to take something on a road trip. I was just on the East Coast too, driving some other cars, but like that's just to get our family from point A to point B. And it was nice, GLS 450 while I was in New England, and then I had an Audi S5 Sportback when I was in Virginia. But it was literally like get in the car, get where we need to go, and stop. It's not like see the sights, but I'm itching to just like take the Montero and just for like 2 nights, or and just get it dirty, sleep under.
What's your preferred destination? Where would you go first?
I don't have one. I'd love to try something new, but there is a place in Big Bear called Holcomb Valley Ranch where somebody who's a fan of what I've done over the years has reached out. Him and like 5 friends bought this property and are turning it into a nice place to camp. And he's like, dude, bring the Montero anytime. And there's places on their property where you could wheel a little bit. And I'm very tempted to do that.
Yeah, that's easy.
I really also want to do this one's not as exciting. I want to do that. But another one is there's a mountain bike park up in that area in Arrowhead called Sky Bike Park, which is really fun. And across the street, they bought land and they have a little RV camping area. I would like to do that because I could go ride my bike and then ride across the street and just like put the bike away, start cracking the beers, not worry about the drive home. Say drive home from Arrowhead with minimal traffic. You can do it in an hour if you're hustling and you're really not hitting traffic.
It's never taken me less than 2.5 hours from LA.
Right.
But it's all for me. It's always been a holiday weekend. Driving up on Friday afternoon, coming home on Monday. So it's like,
it can be brutal. But I can hit it if I go like midweek, and then also the bonus for me is on you're talking about some California freeway shit now. On the 91, I get off at the 241 and I come into the backside of Orange County, and it's like it's nothing. It's great. I don't know. You just get that itch sometimes to like go somewhere.
Dude, I totally do. I'd love to take a road trip in the Audi and like go up to Northern California and like hit some driving roads and like really enjoy that thing. But I mean, it's like I might as well fly there and like take a fucking private jet with the cost of gas. I've spent $500 on gas in the last week, and I haven't gone more than 500 miles.
That's amazing. It's a good segue, by the way, for my next topic. Speaking of Northern California, Autopia 2099.
Heat him up. Didn't even know
it's getting closer.
I believe so.
Yeah, no, it's getting closer. I want to see some of you guys there.
Is that what I read?
It's in Richmond, California, which is in the Bay Area. It's on one of the piers. It's in a beautiful building called the Craneway Pavilion. And this is our summer show. It's our second show. I'm going to say at the top of this, Autopia2099.com for info and to find the links to buy the tickets, which are sold through Eventbrite. Nissan is a presenting sponsor, so we're going to have some stuff from them. We're going to have an Aria, a Nissan Aria.
I don't even know what that
hand.
is.
It's their crossover that still hasn't come out yet, but it's really cool. So hopefully it comes out soon. It's actually a really cool EV. They're going to send a Leaf too.
Does the Leaf change body styles, or is it the same as it's always?
Like freshened up a bit. And then in addition to just exhibitor cars, because if you have a car as a private person, you can pay to show off your car. If you have something cool, and it isn't just EVs, like it's plugins and plug-in hybrids. Like if there's some level of electrification, we would love to see it there. We are wide open to this. So like if you have an NSX, bring that. If you have a Volvo V60 plug-in, bring it.
Yeah,
the plug-in T8. And it's that stage of putting on a car show where it's very hard to put on a car show as people with other jobs. And we have a handful of people helping, but those people are very busy. So it's falling to mostly me and mostly one other person. And I'm trying to say this in a way that is making me not sound like a dick, because everybody does put in tons of work, but we also have lots of other jobs. And so when I need people to do something, they do it. But then in terms of like talking to people about the business side of it, I'm handling most of that now, especially because co-founder of the show, Bradley Brownell, now runs a goddamn car museum. So we leaned on him heavy for show one, and now show two is heavy. Well, Brad is still doing a ton. Kevin McCauley is still doing tons of the artwork, and Chad Kirchner has a great platform on the EV side to help promote it. But I'm taking calls and handling stuff where it's good for me to be involved in it. I'm learning a lot. It's very difficult, and now we're in that stage where we're just over a month out from August 6th of the show. So we're a little bit more than a month out from the show. And it's that phase where I'm like, this is going to be a disaster.
That's the way every production, every show feels, all the way up until it's over.
Right. Well, that's what I'm going to say, because it happened with the LA show. And then like, as it came together, you're like, oh, okay, it's all right. All right, cool. This is kind of happening. But that was LA. So it was closer. Right. So like, and I could rely a bit more on Brad because he was much more freelance and fluid, and he would be like, I'm going to hop on my motorcycle and drive down to LA and check like when he was in Reno, Brad was a maniac, but now he's pretty tied down with his gig. So I'm having to step up and do a lot more, which is good, but also difficult. And now that this show's in the Bay Area, it's farther away. I've never seen the venue. I mean, it looks so awesome in the photos, but man, it's just I'm very nervous. Let's put it that way. We are in the black as far as like what sponsors have covered so far, and by that I mean we're basically even, which is fine. So like if no one showed up, like the bill side of it, the venue's paid for, the this is that, we just probably wouldn't have a third one because people were like, well, no, we're good. We don't need to be involved in this going forward. And I'd be like, yeah, no, I get it. We totally.
Yeah, but I mean, it's the Bay Area. It's the original home of Tesla, and like, Silicon Valley. Like, I feel like the show is going to be probably supported heavier. I mean, obviously you got to market it, but I feel like it'll have, fuller support in the Bay Area than LA. There's still, as much as LA and Southern California has accepted EVs, especially Teslas. Oh my God. I counted today on my commute. Every fourth car was a Tesla. Drove me fucking crazy. Like my only thing is that they all look the same, and people just don't pay attention while they're riding in a Tesla. Like,
well, I'm not going to slag off Tesla right now because I'm going to need a lot of them to show up.
But that's what I'm saying. There's a ton of them in the Bay Area. Like they're everywhere. And like, in our research and marketing to that crowd, like Northern Californians are actually more likely to modify their cars and be EV enthusiasts or Tesla brand enthusiasts than Southern California owners. So
oh my God, that's so weird. It sounds like you should have a booth there.
No, we're not prepared for that. 2023. Keep the show going. In 2023, we'll be there.
Just bring a car. Just bring a car.
We don't own an EV.
Offer someone wheels, and then we need to
There
drive their car up. You and I will road trip it up because I actually don't even know how I'm getting to it from the show yet.
You pay for my gas, and I'll drive up and help you.
Because that's the thing. I'm gonna wind up driving a gas car up there, but I'm gonna try to pitch like Porsche or someone. Like, yo, can I take a car to the show?
I'm sure you'll get support on that. Dude.
I have emails out to a bunch of people who are interested.
I feel like that's the easiest part is to document a road trip in an EV to an EV show.
Yeah, I agree with you, but I'm in the dread phase. But moving
anyway
away from EV.
I know you're not begging for my help here, but I am absolutely down to help. I don't have anything going on that weekend, and I would gladly road trip up with you. Like I said, like my next destination is Northern California. I have friends that I want to see and stuff I want to do up there. So
keep earmark the weekend, and if we need to like Airbnb something together, we'll make it happen.
I've never put on my own car show, but I've worked hundreds, if not thousands, of car shows over my 22 years in the industry.
I would love to have your help. We could even do like a podcast on the way up in the car. There we go. All right. So that's changing gears, and not
switch it up. Yes, it was.
Yeah. The lemons update. 24 hours of lemons. I got an email update from the team because I didn't run the last race where they ran at Thunderhill. Didn't go well. Like is our common song. The engine blew again. Yeah. They had a terrible time, and they were down a driver. So there was like normally the minimum you want is 4 drivers, and they had 3, which is not enough. But the engine blew anyway, so they got fucked. But we're going to be running at Buttonwillow, and I will be at the Buttonwillow race
like
in September.
302 in there, just like a...
I've said that email 30 times. I've said 302. I've said it 30 times. I'm never going to go against the word of Tim, the owner of the car, the original, along with me, co-founder of Hooniverse, because he is a genius. He knows what he's doing, but we can't keep these I6s together. And it's funny, too, because the last race I did at Buttonwillow, where we catastrophically blew up the engine. Hold on. I have a piece of it right here, actually. Don't fall on my chair.
Careful. That is not a connecting rod anymore. It's not connected.
It is not. It is a non-connecting rod. Yeah. And that still wasn't the craziest piece of the damage because I will never get over the fact that I saw a lobe of a cam in the oil pan. That just blows. I didn't know that was a thing.
But I don't understand how. Like, just
it's crazy because
it's not a performance motor. I get that, but I mean, I just don't understand.
It was a performance cam, believe it or not. But that's not what caused the issue. It was they put the engine back together and they like literally didn't torque one bolt correctly, or they didn't shim something correctly. I forget exactly what it was, but it was literally like user error. The dude who did it was like, "That's my fault. I just missed something," which is like, no one on our team is like, "Oh, why'd you do?" It's like, that sucks. But it's like you probably were like in the middle of, 24 bolts, and on one you just didn't torque it enough. And over the course of testing and practice the day before, whatever was in there slowly started to back itself off, and it's inside the engine where things are rotating and moving. And then finally on that parade lap, it went far enough where it hit one other thing hits one other thing, and it's just a cascade of destruction, which is how that engine went. But then that other engine we got that day, put it in by midnight, fired it up. That thing ran fine Sunday, which was the same engine they ran in the last race. But then, you do things. And it was funny, though. You could tell the difference in the car because we couldn't swap the cam over because we karate chopped it. We karate chopped the lobe off. You could tell with the regular cam, but having that Holley Sniper EFI on it is the shit. If you have a carbureted car and you want to change it, man, that is a really cool system. I still like carbs, but that is cool.
I'm no fan of carburation. So, I'm thinking of ponying up for a Holley EFI system, like Sniper or whatever, for that K10, just because. It runs and it drives when it has an ignition switch and a column, but I just feel like that's such a huge upgrade. It just like drivability. You don't smell like gas. The thing's going to start every time, and like it's self-learning, so it's just like I feel like it's a no-brainer for the money.
The self-learning is amazing, but I will say there is something wonderful about dipping into the secondaries on a 4-barrel carb. That's that's such a cool feeling. It's like muscle head VTEC, where it's like the change.
I haven't experienced that though in so long though.
It has been a while.
It'd be if I got into Anthony's El Camino when he gets that back, he's just got a big block with rebuilt.
The Chevelle, right?
The Chevelle is, it's every bit a muscle car, but that thing is scary, and I don't like riding it. He doesn't even really like riding it, like more than around the block.
After he did what he did on the freeway, I don't want to blow up his spot. Everything's fine, car's fine, people are fine, but he almost had an oopsie.
I think we can say he was facing backwards on the 405 freeway, and that's not something you ever want to experience.
And it wasn't his fault. Someone cut him off, and he had to lock up the brakes, and the car spun.
But that's, like I said, muscle car activities. Drum brakes all around.
Yep.
Manual steering, old BFGs on Kragers, just nothing modern and upgraded about it.
Proper, though.
Yeah. It's totally period correct. And, love looking at that car, love hearing that car. But, I drove it and was terrified. I was like, this is so much work. So much work.
I drove it once, and I drove it around the block, and I loved it. I got to drive it again. The plan was to shoot video on it, and I haven't done it. I got to call Anthony.
Let's do some before and after, because we're going to do coilovers or suspension on it, do disc brakes, and then American racing wheels on it, like 18s, and just kind of bring it up to snuff and make it at least somewhat safer. A little bit of modern technology.
Okay. But you're not changing the exterior minus the wheels, like everything else. Okay, cool. Because that car's dope.
But it could be safer. And all of that is towards safety. And, it'll look better, it'll look cooler, but it really is about making that car safe for him and his family to enjoy.
Yeah, and he wants that. He wants to drive it, so that makes sense. So for this next section, I didn't do it today, but I'm going to make a radio style call out in the future for Shitbox Speakeasy updates, where I want to be like Shitbox Speakeasy. Boop, 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 wow. Do we have any updates?
Very little updates. I can't remember. I think last week I talked about the fact that I brought the K10 back over there and it's just taking up a shit ton of space. And everyone's like, what the fuck, bro? Like, this thing is so ugly. Get it out of the way. I can't use the lift. And sorry, but it's the steering column is locked. Thankfully, the wheels are straight. So it's got to be moved around with, it's got to,
dollies.
Yeah, I've got Go Jacks. And it's still a pain in the dick to move around. It's not fun even on the Go Jacks, but I want to get. It is a long bed, yeah. So it's a big boy. But last week I ripped. So the previous owner had a camper shell, camper shell, yeah. And so I ripped all that shit out, which was just exhausting, and I sweated out like 5 pounds. But the truck just needs little stuff. I need to get the wheels on. I need to, like I said, I'm thinking about this Holley, but it's not really necessary. Get the column replaced and then just cleaned up and on its way. But I need to do a few things to the Tahoe as well. I've got another set of wheels coming for that. I will have 4 sets of wheels for that truck. And I got to figure out what I'm going to do as far as selling it. I don't know if anybody wants all the sets of wheels or 2 or 3 sets of wheels. I feel like I've got to sell it.
You can offer them.
That's the thing. Hey. How do you sell a vehicle with multiple wheel options? It's going to be confusing in any listing to see it on 4 different wheels and 2 different prices. So it's I don't know. I'll probably.
You should just offer it with whatever wheels you end up putting on it, offer it with those, and then be like, hey, if you like options, I have options, but you're getting a set of wheels, but if you wanted a different set, I have options.
Right.
But it comes with a set.
The thing is that, like, I want to, this week and weekend, one thing I'm going to do, and, I'm thankful to have the speakeasy for this. So I'm going over tomorrow to put the new brakes on. I've got upgraded brakes for the front. I'm thinking about doing disc brakes in the rear, but I haven't bought those yet. But I have 2 other grills for the truck. I have another GMC grill and I have another Chevy grill. So it's got the chrome Chevy grill with the chrome front bumper right now. I've got a GMC grill that I want to paint to match. So it'll just be black and it's got the chrome like grill opening, and then I have a billet insert for that. And then I have a Chevy grill, a new Chevy grill that I also want to paint, but I want to paint it to match the kind of like gunmetal or titanium rotiform that are on the truck right now. Nobody's really seen it with those wheels. So I would paint the grill and the front bumper cover that I have to match those wheels. So that's why I say it's kind of confusing and it's kind of a pain in the ass to like show the different looks and be like, pick one. It's like, for this price you could have this, for this price you could have that.
Oh no, yeah. No, I say just throw whatever wheels you're aiming to put on it, put them on it, and then like as someone comes to look at it, be like, hey, if you don't like those wheels, have other wheels. But like, don't. I don't know. I would just say, like, I would present the truck with the wheels that you want to put on it, and then like when people are there, if it comes up, be like, I have other wheel options.
Yeah, but for me, like, I want to see the different looks. You know what I mean? Like, just for my satisfaction. Like, I've been hoarding these parts with this intention, so I want to see all different looks. And if somebody like falls in love with one particular look, like, I want them to be able to have that. But whatever, we'll figure it out. But I was trying to trade it for a fucking gasser, and I'm just so frustrated with the online sellers and buyers. Like, it's just like,
I saw that thing you posted where it was like about you're selling wheels, and someone was like, yo, I'll take 2,000. How about this? I'll take 2,000. How about this? It's 2,000.
1,500, 1,700, 1,900, $2,000, motherfucker. That's my fucking number. Like, I have to replace these, and that's what it's going to cost me. Like, I'm not trying to get over on anybody, but I'm like, this is my number. In the ad, it says firm. Like, I'm not taking offers. Like, this is what it is. But people just love to waste time, and like, 9 times out of 10, these people don't even have money, and they make appointments to come like check it out or pick it up, and they don't show. So I'm like, God, dude, I can't imagine how much more bullshit I'm going to have to endure when I actually list this truck for sale. Like, I almost want to like list it for auction.
Yeah,
so that I don't have to personally deal with it. But I also,
you have to answer a lot of questions.
I mean, I'm descriptive. Like, I can put everything into words and pictures. Like, I can put it all there. Like, it's that truck in particular is like pretty self-explanatory. Like, you see the pictures of it, like, it is what it is. Like, you might ask what suspension. Okay, it's Beltec. It's a 5.7 drop. Like, all that will be in an ad, but still people will just lowball and think you don't know what you have. And it's like,
when was the last time you greased your Zerk fittings?
Yeah.
What the bro, what?
Exactly. It's just like, dude, you know what it is. Like, the truck is almost like a unicorn. Like, I saw another one very similar to my truck listed on eBay, and the eBay listing says that it's gone, it's no longer available, but the truck was almost $40,000. It was listed for $38,900, and it was almost identical to my truck and had way more miles. And other than that, like, there was nothing that truck had that mine did not. Like, so I don't know what that sold for, but I'm just like, I'm 30K is my number. And this Comet gasser that I was looking at, the guy like ghosted me all weekend, and he texted me on Sunday. I was like, yo, I'm actually in Yosemite until tomorrow. I'll be home. You can come check the car out. So we made plans for me to come see it yesterday, Tuesday. And he sent me videos of the car, and I'm like, that's cool. Can I come see it? Like, what's your address? Where do you want to meet? He didn't reply to me. And then today he replied to me and was just like, oh, some dude, like, he said he didn't want to trade for my truck. Cool. But then he texted me today, sent me more videos that I didn't even open or look at. And he's like, so, this guy wants to trade me for a Falcon plus cash. And I'm just like, Okay, what do you
Then
do it. Like, what are you asking me my permission?
Yeah.
Like, you haven't even invited me to come check out the car. Like, all I want to do is see the car in person myself, maybe drive it or ride along with you. But I'm like, bro, what is this? Like, I just don't understand people and like their selling and buying methods. Like, it's just so goddamn frustrating. I'm over the whole thing.
I got really lucky when I sold my F100 because I sold it to an automotive journalist who I knew, who's no longer in the automotive journalist game. And it was like, hey, colleague, person, friend, I know, like, this is the truck. This is what it is. Cool. Okay. I'm like, it needs this. He's like, all right, if you fix this one thing, I'll pay X. I was like, all right, deal. I'll fix that. And then when I sold my Benz, it was to an enthusiast, Brennan Wang, nice kid. He showed up and like someone else drove it. Some kid showed up with his dad to drive it, and when they came back, it didn't steer the same. And I'm convinced that they fucked something up. But whatever it was, I fixed it. I forget what was. But I'm like, I'm convinced they like the kid hit a fucking
I was gonna
curb.
say, I mean, not that you're worried they're going to steal it, but why didn't you ride along with them?
No. It was especially father and son. I was like, just take it. And also because if it got stolen, I'd be like, sweet, insurance.
Totally.
So like, but it's worse that it comes back with something like slightly broken. But that was fixed. And then Brandon drove it, and he's an enthusiast. I was like, and the day he showed up to drive it, which I think I've talked about on the podcast before, the driver's side window like fell off the track. And I was like, Brandon, it has never done that. He's like, listen, man, I trust you. I believe you. He's like, just get it back on the track. And he like didn't fight me on price. He's like, your price is, and he bought it. And it's been, and then after he bought it, one half of the, cause it had that had the full Clarion system installed where like they did the whole thing. Like the part of the amp died or something where like, it was only playing on like the left side of the car or something stupid. I was like, fuck. He's like, do you remember what shop it was? I was like, yeah, it's this shop in Huntington. They did all the work. I'm like, dude, let me know if I can like split the cost to fix it. He's like, no, I bought it as is. I was like, I appreciate that. Like, he's like, I appreciate you making the offer. I'm like, see, this is like a good way for like car transactions where I'm almost like, hey, Brandon, you want to go from a Mercedes to a Jag now? Because like it was a good experience selling a car to him. I got
to admit that I don't think I've ever really sold a personal car. Like, I'm trying to think. Like, I don't know. Like, I can't remember selling anything. Like, I had leases end and, turn cars in, but especially enthusiast cars, like not new cars, but like my old shit, I don't think I've ever sold anything. So I've sold cars for other people. In fact, like I basically helped a friend sell something like 8, 10, 12 cars a couple years ago. And it was mildly frustrating, but honestly, compared to selling my own shit, which I consider enthusiast stuff,
right,
it went really easily. Like, these are people that knew what they wanted. Everything was represented fairly and honestly, and the cars weren't necessarily enthusiast cars, but they were cars that people wanted. So I didn't have a lot of looky-loos. I didn't have a lot of tire kickers. Like, for the most part, everybody that I met that was serious about each of those cars bought those cars, no haggling, no bullshit. It was just like, this is a fair price. Like, we're not trying to retire off of you, but like, this car is clean, it's maintained, it's, it is what we say it is. And when stuff checks out, I feel like transactions should go easily, but I don't know, with stuff like OBS trucks, Mustangs, the shit that I own, like everybody thinks that they can get over on you, and like it's just shady individuals are into the types of vehicles that I'm into.
Speaking of cars, what's up? What the heck did your buddy Mike just buy?
Which Mike?
The one who with Killa.
Mr. Render, my banker friend.
What the hell? What did he just buy?
I don't know. What did you see? What are you talking about?
It's some like greenish, yellowish, greenish color. I can't describe the color.
It's a 72 Cutlass. I'm building wheels for it right now. I'm building some American racing wheels. I think he thinks I'm building rotiform for it, but I'm actually building American racing wheels.
good because rotiforms.
No, like the wheels that he wants are like. I mean, I offered him the American Racing wheels, and he said yes. But our man has a propensity for marijuana, and he tends to forget things, and he admits that freely. But yeah, I was on the phone with his mechanic the other day, figuring out brake specs so that we can make sure that we clear the brakes. And he was like, "Yeah, talk to my man Ron. He's built me some rotiforms for it." And I was like, remember when I told you that like that's not going to happen anytime soon? Like those wheels are going to take forever. And he wants the wheels for DJ Envy has like a car show circuit that he's putting on this summer. And the next stop is in Atlanta on July 9th. And I'm like, the rotiform are definitely not going to happen in that time frame of 2 weeks. So the American Racing, we have a shot. We can do it. They won't be gold like you want. Car's green. He wanted gold wheels, which I think would be great. But that just...
He's going for like a whole...
Don the Bishop Magic one. Yes, sir. Green for the money, gold for the honey.
That's right.
But we'll end up getting them finished to his taste later. But yeah, I'm just going to build some all polished American Racing 20-inch wheels, similar to the wheels that are on my Mustang, but they're a little I don't know, more old school and appropriate for the car. But yeah, I didn't know that he posted that. I haven't seen that.
Yeah, he posted it. I was like, oh, that color's sick.
I got to admit, and I told him this, like, that's not my favorite of the 70s, like the 68 to 72 Cutlass body styles. My grandfather had, growing up, my family, my grandfather had two different 72 Cutlass convertibles. One was a 442 that ended up being my grandmother's daily driver, and they took the 455 out and put a 350 in because it was, more economical and she didn't need all that power. And then they painted it. The car was like a greenish gold. It's probably the same color as Mike's car, but with black stripes. And they took it and painted it like this cream peach color. And like, it was, yeah, looking back, like that was not the move. But my grandfather was trying to appease my grandmother and give her what she wanted and like give her, something that she was more comfortable with. But I love the fenders, the rear fenders or rear quarters on the coupes and the convertibles. They have that like super sharp edge. It's like almost like a shark's fin, and like it's so aggressive and so cool. And like what Mike got, which is like the fastback body style, like the fenders are rounded and like more contoured, and they're not so like sharp edged, which it's a unique body style, and I do think it's cool, but it's just not my preference.
Is it more Chevelle?
Sort of, but I mean, it's unique to the Cutlass, and unique to the Cutlass fastback or whatever they call that.
I'm trying to pull this up. Give me 1 second. I'll see if this is what we're talking about here. Chrome tab Cutlass fastback. Is that going to pop up for us?
I don't know what their official terminology was for it, but I can't see that shit, bro.
Oh, let me see if I can make the picture bigger. Hold on.
You got thumbnails on an iPhone that's 3 feet away from me, and I have.
And it's not. And I've already pulled up a different. Hold on. Let me try this. Give me 1 second. This might work better now. If I do this. Come on.
That's
come on.
it.
Pop
That's
up.
it.
Is that
what do they call that? How's it described?
It says 72 Oldsmobile Cutlass S, because I Googled Cutlass Fastback and this popped up. So I think it's the S.
I don't think. I think S. No, S. Coupe, I think S just means Supreme, which was available on convertible coupe and maybe they call this hardtop.
Yeah, that could be it. It came in hardtop or sport coupe. Yeah. It says
hardtop, and then the sport coupe was obviously shared the fenders with the convertible.
It's like a baby 442 kind of in a way.
Well, I mean, 442 is just trim level.
Yeah. But it became its own thing.
No, I mean, it wasn't its own body style is what I mean. Like it was.
Well, yeah, sure. All right, Twitter questions. Matthew plays with cars. Hello, Mr. Matthew. What vehicle should have their own official? He has like a bunch of questions. What vehicle should have their own official Lego set? I don't know. And here's the thing with Lego sets. Most of the time, they don't look that good. It's when the Lego fanatics make their own versions, when they do
like
great, like they make
scale,
it look
right?
so
like,
much. Or not even that. It's just that they'll just do it themselves with their own bricks, and they're so good at it where they'll make it look so much better than the licensed kit. When you're like, why can't Lego do that? The Defender one that you can see in the shot right there through the window of the Jag. That one's perfect because that vehicle is squares on squares.
right.
I don't have an opinion on what should have an official Lego set. I'm down with anything having its.
Sorry,
own
Matthew. I
Lego
don't
set.
need.
I know. What's your best or worst road trip story?
Oof.
I've driven cross country a few times. The worst is trying to drive a 4-cylinder. What is it? Whatever Wrangler had the square headlights. Was that TJ's? I forget.
I think so. Yeah.
We were climbing. We were driving back. We spent the summer in California, my buddy and I. And we're driving back to Massachusetts and driving at night in Colorado. Where like we don't know where we are. The mountains are so high that you can only see the stars straight up because they block the stars out on the side. And we're in third gear climbing on the freeway because that car has no power. We're getting passed by like 89 Saabs just blitzing, just, 89 Saab turbos just ripping up the hill. And that was terrifying. But the road trip overall was excellent. It was a great summer. Broke my mic there. Sorry, hopefully that didn't go right into the fucking microphone. I don't know. Even bad road trips are you can turn them around and have fun with them.
I was going to say, like, I can't think of I'm sure I can think of a great road trip, but my worst road trip is also my most memorable, and now I can laugh at it. And it's
there you go.
I don't know. To me, it's like I earned my stripes with this trip. And it must have been 2001. I tagged along with Hot Rod Power Tour driving from LA to the East Coast. And I don't remember where their destination was, but I stopped with Power Tour in Phoenix, and they had drag racing at whatever, I think it was whatever facility shared the track with Bondurant. But they had a drag strip there in Phoenix, probably Phoenix International Raceway. So that was the first day, and I didn't pay, I didn't officially join, I didn't get stickers. I was just like, yo, I got to get to Atlanta, and you guys are going halfway there along the same route, so it'd be cool.
Hold on, stop for 1 second. Something is popping. I'm hearing a constant popping from the microphone.
Let me turn things down a little bit.
Just a little bit. Don't go too low though.
Any better?
Yeah, I'm not hearing it now. I don't know.
So basically, I drove, like I said, pretty much halfway across the country with Hot Rod Power Tour, but without paying for anything. So I don't know what they have meals or gatherings. They had car shows or racing at pretty much every stop. But we stopped in Phoenix. There was drag racing there. We stopped in Albuquerque. There was junkies there. I remember staying at a motel in Albuquerque and I had my 93 Mustang convertible. And I had my whole life in the car. I'd packed everything to drive home for the summer, but I also had a 15-inch subwoofer and amp in place of the back seat. So I took everything out. I took all my belongings out, along with the sub, the radio. It had it wasn't even a pull-out radio, but I unplugged it and pulled it out. I pulled all that shit out because people were dealing drugs and doing drugs in the parking lot of this motel. So the next morning I had to put my whole life back into this car. And then the next stop was somewhere in Texas, I think. I don't remember exactly where it was. And then the next day, the stop was in Oklahoma. It was somewhere rural Oklahoma, and there was a car show and some field somewhere. And I stopped at a gas station to call my parents and tell them where I was and where I was going to stay for the night. And I'm walking up to the payphone at the gas station. I had prepaid cards, just like I said, 2000 or some shit. I didn't even have a cell phone at that point. And I walk up to the phone, the payphone at the gas station, and I'm looking around, and it's just a bunch of cowboys, and they all have Bowie knives on their belt. And like, they're all looking at me like, what are you doing here, boy? And I was just like, yeah, Mama, I'm not going to stay here. Actually, I'm going to try and make it to Little Rock. Like, I'm like looking at a map, no phone. There's like, I don't know if I had a Thomas guide or a map or what, but I'm just like, the next biggest, I promise I didn't have a Thomas guide. I hated those. I never used those. But I figured that the next big city that I could actually make it to before sundown was Little Rock. So I was in a big city. So I was just like, all right, I'm going to go to Little Rock. I'll call you when I get there. And I got there probably 9 o'clock at night or whatever and slept in Little Rock. And then I was like, all right, I'm going to go Little Rock all the way home today. Like, I'm not. Yeah. No more bullshit. Like, I don't think I even had money for another hotel room. It was just like I could just pay for gas to get me home. But the thing that I didn't mention was that from the beginning of this trip, my transmission had started slipping. And that car had the Ford AOD transmission, which is, 4-speed overdrive. And they were just like the worst transmissions ever. Like, they were super fragile. They didn't hold any power whatsoever. They didn't hold up to any kind of power shifting, anything. It was weird. Like, if you wanted to manually shift, you'd go to second, but then pull back to first to lock it into second. And then you'd go forward again to go to third, like shifting in that thing, manually shifting. That automatic transmission was so weird. And I beat the hell out of it. But it finally gave up the ghost on this trip. The TV cable is like a little plastic clip that attached to the throttle body, and it basically sends signal to the transmission and tells it what to do. When those go bad,
it doesn't work on the
when those go bad, it burns up the transmission, like gear by gear. So I lost overdrive first. So leaving, like, I tied this thing up in LA with a shoestring because it started slipping. But I lost overdrive in like Texas or Oklahoma. Then I lost neutral. Neutral became a drive gear. Then I lost reverse. So I got to Birmingham, and Birmingham's like 100-something miles from Atlanta. When I was in Birmingham, I pulled into a gas station to get water and food and shit. And I didn't need gas, so I pulled up to, like the front of the gas station, not up to a pump. And I go in, and this is when I found out that I didn't have reverse. I went in, got all my shit, and then put it in reverse. I'm like, car's going forward. I'm like, what? No, man. Fuck. And like, I already knew I didn't have neutral, but I put it in neutral and nothing. I was like, oh my God, what the fuck am I going to do? Like, I'm stuck here. So somehow figured out some way to get it like between gears and then just push, like kick and push it back far enough that I could drive off. I'm like, all right. So I only got 120 miles to go. Like, I'm just not going to stop anywhere. And then I lost third gear. So I just had first and second, and I'm on the freeway going like 50 miles an hour, barely keeping freeway speeds at like 5,000 RPM.
Yeah.
The car is overheating. So I have the top up because it's sunny as shit, and I at least need to shade.
Windows down.
I have the windows down, and I have the heat blasting. And I decided I couldn't take that anymore. So I got off and I got on what is in Atlanta, it's Bankhead Highway, but it's 78. Like, it's like the interstate, like 2 or 4 lane, like just like 2-lane road. And I just cruised that for like 40 miles an hour for whatever, the 80 miles home. Got home, parked the car, and worked all summer in order to afford the transmission swap. I switched the car over to manual after that experience, but I worked all summer. Like, my grandmother totally paid for it so I could drive the car during the summer and go to work. But all summer I worked to pay for that trans swap, that 5-speed swap in that car. But that last, I don't know, 80, 100 miles was probably the most miserable time I've ever spent in a car. Just 105 degrees, 100% humidity, full heat, like just no wind, just miserable, just car begging for its life.
I've had that. I've had the heat thing on the way out to California in that Jeep Wrangler trip I did with my buddy. His AC sucked. The car was overheating, and we were between like Needles and Ludlow, almost to California. So we had the top up, sides down. We bought a foam cooler because it didn't have a center console. So we bought a foam cooler, put ice in it with water bottles, and we were just like rubbing ice on our face, heat blasting. So I've been there for that. But you just reminded me of my good road trip. Years ago, I drove a 72 240Z from California to Boston. with my brother. This was my friend Paul, the one who I went to California with in the Jeep. His dad is the guy I used to go to Mecum auctions with. He wanted a Z. He's like, find me one in California. I'll send you a check for X. Try to get it for less than X. He sent me a check for like 15, and I found him one for like 12 or something like that. Clean looking car, painted Corvette red, gorgeous 240Z. He's like, all right, you can put it on a trailer or you can drive it back. I was like, I'm driving this back. Cool. Are you fucking kidding me? And then my brother came for the trip. And my brother and I always had like a fine relationship, but we've been at odds the last few years. And then we're driving, we're having a good time. I'm driving. And then we stayed in hotels, except in Tennessee, we stayed at Zach Bowman's house. And as we're getting close to Zach's, I can hear fuel leaking from somewhere on the headers. And I'm like, this is worst case scenario. This car's going to burst into flames on the side of the road. So I don't know what the fuck's going on. And we're so close to Zach's, but we're hitting traffic. And my brother's not a car guy, and I can hear. So like anytime we would come to a slow, like if traffic would really stop, I would hear. Tss, pss, tss, pss. It's like literally fuel hitting the header. I'm like,
it's the only thing it can be.
I don't know why. Maybe it was the smell or something, because I definitely was not as mechanically able as I am now. Not that I am now, I'm just more so. And I just pulled off somewhere and I found a gas station with a shop. I was like, yo, I'm on the middle of a road trip. This thing is clearly leaking fuel. I need some fucking help. The guy's like, yeah, sure. We'll get you in right away. And whoever built the car prior, when they rebuilt the carburetor, instead of using fuel line, they used like regular hose. So over the course of the drive, it's just the fuel ate through it. They're like, we just replaced, $5 in hose. Right. You're fine. I'm like, that's it? He's like, yeah. I'm like, fuck, thanks. We drove to Zach's. Somewhere along the way, our power antenna fell inside the body of the car. So we went to like an O'Reilly's or something near his house, and they wouldn't sell us. We just needed a nut. And they're like, we can't sell you the nut. So we bought their generic power antenna in the parking lot. And Zach was like, just hold on. He took the antenna apart, got the nut out of the package we need, and then puts the package back together and returned the antenna. He's like, fuck them. I'm like, yes, Zach, you are the best ever. Because I wouldn't have thought to do that. And so then we had the power antenna fixed. But then the rest of the drive, the next stop was DC. Mm-hmm. We stayed at a nice hotel at 12th and K in DC. But we woke up early because the next leg was the final push from DC to Boston. So we woke up really early and we needed fuel. And I went to a fuel station just a couple blocks from the White House. And DC gets gnarly quick. So we're at a gas station at 3:30, 4 in the morning in this 72 240Z. And this car rolls into the gas station. One of the gas stations where it's glass to talk to the person, and they you shove money underneath. And this car rolls up, this brand, the first gen Trackhawk when they were brand new.
Trackhawk or SRTG?
Yeah. SRTG. Yeah. So it was an SRT8. Correct. Good correction. SRT8 rolls through. One dude in the back rolls his window down partly, super tinted. He's like, yo, it's a nice car. I'm like, oh, yeah, nice Jeep. He's like, mm-hmm. And then they drive away. I'm like, motherfucker, we need to go. I am not a racist person, but this is not a good situation to be in this car. And I am clearly hey, fellas, my brother's a tough guy, and I paid for the gas, and I didn't want to wait for my change. I'm like, we just need to get the fuck out of here. My brother's like, fuck that. I'm going to get you. He cut the line. 3 people. He's like, yo, we need our change. I'm like, dude, and the guys, and people are like, yo, and he's like, give me a change. He gets the change. And we get back in the car. And so the whole drive had been great. But like I said, our relationship was in a weird place. My brother has we diverted at some point in history where I went to college on an academic scholarship. My brother went to jail. He didn't graduate high school. And I can say this because now my brother now has been sober for I don't know, 15 years, has a child, has a very successful business.
Got a
He just
fucking
bought a C8
Corvette, bro.
And an ATS, and so like he's doing very well. It's amazing, and it makes me proud every day. But on this trip, like somewhere in Jersey, we got in an argument because I didn't fully understand he was working towards sobriety then. And when we were going to arrive in California, you know, we were actually, it was also weird. It was weirdly timed where we were going to get there for my grandmother's 80th birthday, as a surprise to all, like the rest of our East Coast family. And he was like, you know, I can't do this one thing because I have to go to a meeting. And I thought he was using it as an excuse, which was like a fucked up thing in my head. I thought he was like trying to get out of something. And we got in this huge argument. And my brother is a gorilla. My brother is a monster. And he like got so pissed at me, but I knew like I'm the older brother. So I'm yelling back. I'm like, you know, man, I'm like, you know, we're like full F words, fingers and faces, like fuck, blah, blah, blah. And we were quiet for an hour. And then we apologized to each other. And we had this like reconciliation moment. And like ever since that road trip, our relationship has been great. So that's probably the right answer to the original question posed here. Because I've had some great road trips, but that was one that actually helped foster a healthier
That's super cool, man.
Sibling relationship. And then we made it. And when I got there, you know, my brother went off and did his thing. We reconnected for the birthday party, my grandmother's birthday party, who's still alive, which I just saw her on a trip.
How does she know?
It's crazy that she's still alive. It's 90 something, but like I went to see her and like she was napping and she's like kind of has dementia. So she's like, I don't want to wake up. And we're like, I told my mom, like, tell her we talked because she loves the Red Sox. I'm like, tell her. If you tell her we came, like tell her we talked about the Red Sox. Don't tell her she didn't wake up, you know. And I have another funny story about that, which I will tell. And then I'm not going to do Instagram questions because we're already going long. I'm going to close on the funny story that's unrelated to cars about my grandmother. But when I got to Massachusetts, it was gorgeous time of year. And my friend's dad, who I'm delivering the car to. I forgot another part about the delivery. When we're driving through, I just got off like the around New York through like the Brooklyn Expressway, which is a shitty expressway. And on the other side of that, the engine started making a squeaking noise. I was like, you can't tell me I'm this close. And now the engine has like a catastrophic metal on metal failure. So I pulled off in Greenwich, Connecticut, which is, you know, she as fuck. I found a Nissan delership.
Really? That's where you go?
Hey. I found the closest one, and it was in Greenwich. Well,
I'm surprised you didn't go to Wayne Craney's place at 40.
Yeah. Well, I pull in, and it's the morning. Like, people are dropping off their cars before they go to work for service. Like, that's what time it is. And it's like, hey, I'm at the tail end of a very long drive. Like, literally, I left California a few days ago. And it's making this awful squeaking noise. And they're like, well, we have a guy who worked on Z's since they came out. You know, they had a tech who's been there that long. Dude, they pulls the car back. The car's back there for 15, 20 minutes. The AC pulley was squeaking, but the AC didn't work. So anyway, he just pulled the belt off, and it was fine. I'm like, and they didn't charge me. They're like, enjoy the rest of your trip. I was like, fucking A. I don't know what the name of that dealership is, but I'm sure there's only one Nissan dealership in fucking Greenwich.
That's amazing.
And so we continued on, but when we got to Boston, my friend's dad was like, hey, I'm in Florida, so if you want to drive the car for the rest of the weekend. I had a press car lined up, something mundane. I think I put like a mile on it because he's like, do you want to drive the Z for the rest of the weekend? I was like, abso-fucking-lutely. So I drove that for the rest of the weekend, dropped it off at his house, caught my plane back home, and it was good. Oh, but to close out on the funny story, years ago when I was still living back in Boston, we got invited to it was like a charity auction at a small bar in Faneuil Hall, which is an area like a touristy area in Boston, and all of a sudden, but it was like for wealthier people. Like we were college kids. We weren't supposed to be there. But like there were like actual local athletes there. And Nomar Garcia-Parra was there, who's a huge Noma, exactly. And I'm outside talking to my grandmother on the phone because I was a good kid once. And I was like, yeah, Nana, no Mars here, no Mars here. And he comes out, he walks out as I'm talking to my grandmother on the phone. And I don't know if he was married to Mia.
Oh, that's
yet,
right.
But
I forgot about that.
Walking with like
Mia Hamm, right?
He was leaving with two chicks. So I'm not gonna say what year it was because I don't remember, but he walks out and he's intoxicated.
Sisters.
And we all are.
Does he have
We all are. I'm not going to blow up his spot. Whatever. He walks out and he's drunk. I was like, hey. But this was like a quiet party midweek. So like there wasn't like a lot of other people. And I was like, hey, Nomar, what's up, man? Nice to meet you. I'm talking to my grandma on the phone. She's a huge Red Sox fan. You want to just say hello? He's like, absolutely. Grabs the phone, says hello, talks to my grandmother. Boom, boom, boom. Have a great night. See you later. Like a week later, he's on a radio show. And it's a typical Boston talk show, and they're like, yeah, blah blah blah, Boston fans. What's the worst part of dealing with these fucking Boston fans? It's like, I love Boston fans, but the one thing I hate is when a random fan just sticks a cell phone in my face and asks me to say hello to someone on the other end. And I heard that, I'm dying laughing because at the time he was happy. And I'm sure he didn't mean it in that situation. I'm sure he means in crowds and blah, blah, blah. Because he's like, absolutely, give me the phone. But the fact he said it a week later is still one of my favorite things to think about as it relates to my grandmother. Because she loved the phone call. Right. But a week later, that makes me fucking die. That's so funny. So, sorry, Noma Garcia Para. That's good.
Oh, man.
So, that's all I got. That's all I got. That's a great spot to end it on. I'm sorry for the Instagram questions because there were some good ones, but
I got one Instagram question. Actually, I had two, and I don't remember what the second one was. But I'm not even going to credit it. I'll credit this dude later. I don't even know where my phone is. Oh, my phone is right here. I'm recording on my phone.
Yeah, right here.
So I can't. But somebody asked me if I got my Delta credit card. And boom, bitches! Yeah.
Show it carefully. Don't show the 4 digits.
Oh, I can't even show that.
Don't do what I did.
I don't know if you can see that shit. You barely see that shit.
Yeah. I'll take a look.
Can I just say that, like,
we can't have another podcast where I have to edit out credit cards.
All right. So all you can see is my name. I've covered the 4 digits, but can I say that I'm a little bit disappointed because
it's not as metal.
Exactly. It looks metal as fuck. But it doesn't feel metal. It's like coated. I don't know if it's powder coated or what it is, but like it's not cold and it's a little bit more flexible than I anticipated. I'm like, man, I might just ask.
Did you have the reserve?
Yeah.
Because that card was
no. I didn't have the other one, the other metal reserve card. But I thought this was metal too because it's made from aluminum from a 747.
Yeah, but it's aluminum.
Right.
Yeah.
Aluminium. But
I agree that that's the only thing I don't like.
It
about
looks
the card,
metal. It doesn't feel like metal, right?
Because I had the heavier card, the reserve one, and like that was a proper like
you want that shit to clink.
That thing.
Throw this shit down.
And that was my first adult real because I've had an Amex Gold card for years, and that's nothing special. So when I finally got a card for business. I got that reserve, the Delta Reserve. I was like, damn, this is substantial. Right. And then I do still prefer this because it's made from fucking 747. Cool. And that is cool as shit.
I felt like a complete nerd talking to people for like the last week. Like people were actually asking about it, and I was just like, yeah, dude, I'm stoked. I can't wait. Like fucking big boy metal fucking card. Like, and it's like, that shit sounds like plastic. Like, I was like, I'm gonna flex next week. I'm gonna tap that shit on my aluminum computer base. It sounds exactly the same as my plastic cards.
No, the other card that the one I had prior was like stonking, like a clunk, and I still am so happy that I have a card made from the 747. But that other card, was beefy.
A fucking plane that traveled 68 million miles in its lifetime.
Yep. Yeah. They're all made from the same plane. Yep. which I was surprised about. I'm like, which plane did you get? I'm like, no, they cut up one plane and made. They don't need multiple planes to make these fucking cars.
I saw yours and I was just like, well, it's the same plane. It's the same
number.
day.
Yeah, they're all the same plane. Yep.
So, long story short,
dope,
it's dope, but it's not as dope as I anticipated. And thank you all for, I don't know, whatever. Asking.
Whatever.
Yeah. Sorry that we wasted your time with this shit.
Hope you all had a happy 4th, because this episode is going to run on the. Actually, yeah, whatever. Next.
Whatever,
next
indeed.
Week. Yeah. All right. I'm going to stop recording now. Thank everybody.
Bye-bye.
We'll talk to y'all later.